we've been your job search besties and helped you in some way, there's a cool way you can support the show. Shout us a virtual coffee.
We get a huge kick out of reading all of your success stories. Head to buymeacoffee.com/interviewboss and shout us a cuppa.
If you keep us caffeinated, we can keep the content coming.
I don't want to oversell, I don't want to lie, then maybe you need to flip your mindset and be like, okay, cool, I'm kind of lying because I'm not giving them the full story at the moment.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Interview Boss. My name is Emma. I'm a radio journalist who's teamed up with my sister to give you advice, inspiration, and support when you're looking for a new job. Sarah is a HR and recruitment professional, and together we're excited to give you all the tips, tricks, and behind-the-scenes knowledge to help you in your career.
Hey, Em, and welcome back, all of our incredible Interview Boss listeners all across the globe. I'm feeling a bit sentimental today. It's time for our favourite part of the podcast, our Shoot Your Shot Shout Out. This is where we celebrate you guys, our wonderful listeners. You've gone out into the world, you've used our advice, and you've got some wins or some updates to share with us. This week, we're shouting out Matilde, who bought us 5 coffees. That is incredible. That is so generous. Thank you.
She said, "Hi girlies, huge feminine energy coming your way. Where do I start? It's going to be a long one. I've been in a professional transition for the past 1.5 years. I was fortunate enough to quit my job and then go back for a few months. I was stuck in a weird place where I was too senior for junior roles and too junior for senior roles. There is this job at this place that I've been talking about for 4 years now. It's been such a long time that I felt like a stalker sometimes. And guess what? Yes, this exact opportunity opened up on the market when I was the most ready, meaning confident in myself and my skills to apply. I applied in early December and I knew the process would only start in January. So what did I do? Prepare. The thing I was most anxious about is that I'm French and the position needed to be bilingual. And while I do speak English, I've never interviewed in English. During the Christmas break, I decided to look for a podcast in English to train myself to listen and talk in English. I searched interview podcast English on Google, and what do I find? You. Yes. So let me tell you, and I know you don't know it yet, but I feel like we're family because I spent almost as much time with you than with my family during the holidays. Hours of listening to your podcast. The number 1 is the Tell Me About Yourself episodes, and number 2, the best bits, of course. I practiced so much, and having the best bits ready was a true blessing. They didn't ask a question about something? No problem. I'm going to tell them anyway. They didn't ask... Oh my God, it worked wonders. I absolutely smashed the interviews, especially the one with the senior director and VP. It took 3 months and 2 new friends, aka you, that don't even know me. I told you, borderline stalker, but I got it. Oh my God. I got the offer this week for a better salary than I asked with amazing compensation. I'm so happy, so I wanted to let you know. Enjoy the coffees. I wouldn't drink 5 at a time. It's risky, but who am I to judge? P.S. Because I need to know, where does the of the jingle come from? It kind of sounds like No Control by One Direction. Is this it? Your new stalker sister.
That's so good. I love that. The energy coming out of that is incredible. I just love that you found us, Matilde, because it sounds like your energy really matches our energy of the podcast.
And I would love to know if not only we helped you with your skills of interviewing, but if you picked up any iconic Aussie slang from us.
Yeah, and you're not only just speaking a little bit of English, but you're speaking Australian now too.
Yes, spreading that culture.
Also, can we just talk about the written English? I know she said she speaks English very well, but like, if you didn't call that out, I would have had no idea in that whole message that there was any single phrases that were worded oddly. Wow, that's incredible. No wonder you did amazing. That is so cool. And also, it's not One Direction. It is a random no royalty music track that I managed to find. But because you really need to know, and you need to know, I'm going to find it and link it in the show notes. Now, if you want results like that, check out my interview coaching sessions or interview academy. They can really help anyone who's looking to do some focused prep. That would be the perfect thing if you had like a couple of weeks break and you went, I want to come back out of this being prepared, maybe even before you have the interview locked in. I think that's the best time to do your prep. You can find out all about my sessions or interview academy at interviewboss.com.au/coaching.
As always, if you are loving the show, you want to request an episode on your conundrum or industry, kindly follow us on Instagram and slide into our DMs and we will add it to the list. And Sarah has sort of drawn inspiration from a real life person and conundrum that she witnessed on a recent coaching call that she did. So she wanted to deep dive into their situation and do an episode on it. So tell us what happened.
So I had a coaching call literally just last week, I want to say, with someone who was in kind of an analytics role. And I want you to know, if you listen to when we talk about real listeners, by the way, we're never giving specifics. We often change names, genders, all sorts of stuff. You would never know who the person actually is by what we say because we change so much that you would never be able to work it out. With that said, she was in a bit of an analytics role, and her best bits were where she would pull insights from the data from the company and come up with like, oh, there looks like there's a problem here, or we could do something here, or like that was kind of her role, to pull the data, to analyze it and make recommendations, and then share it with the sales teams or the customer service teams or some other product team or something, who were then able to do things differently. And then the end result of a lot of her stories was there was an increase in revenue. We had an increase in customers taking up this product, or like whatever the thing was. Really, really great stories, such strong stories. And she was finding that she was doing interviews and getting to the final round and then not getting through. And a bit of a theme in her whole kind of coaching session was that she was really, really hesitant to take credit for doing that increase in revenue, or to say that it was all up to her, or she was kind of scared of overplaying or over-exaggerating or selling or talking herself up is kind of the vibe. Now, I think a lot of people can probably relate to that idea that you don't want to overhype what you were capable of. But she was then holding herself back from telling the whole story, not actually talking about the result in the right way, because she felt like that meant she was saying, I increased the revenue by this much, when obviously she didn't do any of the selling, she didn't deal with the customers, like she's not taking credit for that, but she felt like by including that in her story, she's saying, I did that, which was not the case at all. This is the least arrogant person.
My instinct is like, no, that's the best story ever, because if it weren't for you initially spotting that gap, your teammates could then not go on and do the thing, and you played an integral role in like pointing out areas of business development. And like that's not taking away the salesperson's credit, but they wouldn't have went and sold and fixed the thing if you didn't point it out. So it's a symbiotic relationship.
It is. And I think the fear that people have with this is that they don't want to sound arrogant. They don't want to be unfair to their teammates. They don't want to dismiss other people's contributions. They're just concerned about only owning what they individually did.
Respectfully, your colleagues aren't in the interview, so they're not going to know what you say, and you can take credit for it if you want.
That's true. That's true. But I also think that this is really, really likely to come up if you are interviewing internally. It can be even worse. All of these same feelings can be even worse because you might have someone in there that is the head of sales and you're like taking credit for this thing, and it might feel really weird. But if you're in two minds about this, I just want to tell you the consequences of having this mindset. So this person that I was talking to, her answers and her stories sounded good, not great. They sounded like she'd had some insights, she'd given it onto the team, and they kind of ran with it, right? Which is not the case at all. It was like nobody even asked her to do this. She spotted something proactively. She deep dove. She pulled data from places that it wasn't easy to get. It's not like she just ran a report. She followed them up. She pitched it to them. They weren't in favor of the idea. She influenced them, followed it through. And all of that wasn't clear because she was so hesitant and sitting back. Like sometimes it's really helpful for people to hear, hey, I can tell that there's something more that happened here, but let me me just say that if I took what you just said at face value, here are my assumptions. It sounds like you pulled a report that took you 10 minutes from Excel and then you sent it off to someone with an idea in an email. And they're like, oh no, God, this was way more than that. And I'm like, right, well, you need to beef up your answer then, because it's not doing yourself justice. You're not doing reality justice in the way that you're telling this at the moment. And I think that can be what happens when you're trying so hard not to take credit. And it doesn't actually come off as like team player, gives other people credit, because that's the wonderful thing about people. If you're listening and you're like this, you're a wonderful person probably. Like, these are all good things for you to think and not want to do. Like, that's nice, but it doesn't come through like that at all. You just sound not as good at your job. It doesn't give, hey, I like to give other people credit. I don't like to be in the spotlight. That doesn't come through at all. It just sounds like you're not as good at your job as what you really are.
And it doesn't sound as team player as you think, because if you're just saying, yeah, and then I handed it off and I kind of never heard about it again, compared to saying I handed it on, they went and like moved some things around and did some great things, came back to me, I reanalyzed, saw the growth, and then we got together and decided that that would be a formal strategy or policy or whatever. That continuity of working together, coming back, oh, look, the data did work. That sounds teamwork.
Hey, Interview Boss listeners, if the podcast just isn't doing it for you and you need way more help to prep for your next interview, we have the perfect thing for you. Interview Academy. Em, tell us all about it.
This is huge. This is the love child of Sarah after doing hundreds of one-on-one coaching sessions, finding out what people struggle with the most, common mistakes. Sarah has created the ultimate course that you can do in your own time, self-paced, heaps of modules, videos, interactive quizzes, a workbook that will become your Bible by the end that you can take with you into your interview, because if you're a long-time listener, you know that we endorse taking notes into your interview. It's a game changer.
Check out more about it at interviewboss.com.au/interview academy. Well, and let me just kind of reframe. Like, if you were talking to your boss and your boss knew and was super impressed by all this stuff that you'd managed to do, and they were like, wow, Emma, you have changed the company. You've made us all this money, all this revenue increases because of you. And you were like, oh, no, look, really the sales team did all the work. Sure. In that context, your boss feels like, oh, that's just Emma. She always gives other people credit. She's not trying to take over the spotlight or whatever. That's only because they know the truth. In the interview, they don't know the truth. And so it just sounds like that's what's happened. Like, it doesn't sound like you're being lovely and humble if they don't know what really happened. It just sounds like you didn't do the thing.
It sounds like you're being vague and that you're taking one of your daily mundane tasks that you already are expected to do, and you're just trying to use that as a great example. So here's a few ways that you can reframe your thinking if this is you. In your next company, they're looking for the results, like things like increases in revenue, successful projects. So you're never going to be expected to deliver those single-handedly. So why would they need all of your examples to be things only you've done individually? This is so smart.
This was the main breakthrough thing that we talked about. And I often have this in coaching sessions where it's like, we actually do a little bit of psychological unpacking of some of these things, because it's the reframing that actually makes you think about it differently, so that you don't just do something differently. You understand why that didn't make sense in the first place. So an interviewer wants an increase in revenue. Like, if she's interviewing at her next company, they want to know how to increase revenue. They would love that result. And to be honest, they don't really give a shit who individually delivers the result. They just want the increase in revenue. So if you did something that led to something that led to something that led to everyone else doing the work and it increased revenue, they're happy. They want to know that that was the result, and you're not going to be expected to be single-handedly doing those things in a role that can't actually do all of those bits and pieces. They just want to know that you are part of a team that knows how to get that result.
If I think of my workplace in radio, I can almost not think of a single achievement that doesn't run through multiple people's hands and departments. Say we deliver a great advertising campaign that started with a sales rep going out and getting a client on board, getting them to spend money. Then it went to the promotions department who went, right, we've got this amount. What can we deliver? Then it went to the creative director who went, okay, here's what I'm going to write in the ad to get them maximum benefit. Then it went to the on-air team to make and create the audio. And then it got final, and it passes through so many people to then deliver a massive campaign that boosted the business's revenue. Like it's just how things work.
And imagine one of those people in that chain were in an interview and they said, oh, but I didn't bring in the client, so I can't tell that story. Or like, oh yeah, I just get given the thing and then I pass it on to them. Like, that's not true at all. Like, everybody has to do really well in their job to play a role. And they're interested in the story of how that goes as a whole. What was the end result of you doing those things? Because this is another kind of way to think about it. If those analytics had no impact down the line at all, then you wouldn't have done them.
Yeah.
Your job would cease to exist. If there was no down the line impact somewhere on someone for something, then you wouldn't need to do what you're doing at all. They want to hear that you understand how that fits in and how bits that you do impact something that gets some kind of result. And we've talked a lot about how results don't need to be tied up in nice little bows. So if you're listening to this, I don't want you to think that increase in revenue has to be the end goal of all your answers. It doesn't. That just happens to be the case for this particular person that we were talking about. So they're not only happy to hear about the end result for the company, which is the increase in revenue or the project or whatever, that's specifically what they care about. They want to know you know how to deliver something that gets that end result.
Yes. Sometimes people who are also underselling themselves have a fear of over-exaggerating, or they don't want to lie. Well, what can help with this mindset is reflecting on the fact that by underselling, you actually are kind of lying. That's not the full story of what happened. You don't need to sell, just tell the truth and the reality of the situation.
Yes, this helps a lot of people, I think, when they go, oh yeah, but I don't want to oversell, I don't want to over-exaggerate. And I think that comes back to this terrible advice that's out there that you have to pretend and you have to make everything sound better and, all these buzzwords. I had someone different book in a little while ago that talked about in their application form for the session, I want to know how to put power words in my answers. And I was like, that idea didn't come from me. What the hell are you talking about? I don't know what a power word is. What is that?
Did you debunk that straight away?
I was like, look, you can, after our session, you are welcome to go and include them, but I am not helping you with that. I'm going to help you on actually sounding more impactful in your answers. And if you want to swap some words out, then be my guest. That's a fun little activity. It's not going to change the result of your interview. But because of that idea, people then go, oh, I can't do that. And so instead, their reaction is to undersell themselves. I like to point out that you kind of are lying. You're not telling them what really happened. That's not the truth. You didn't just do this thing and then they took care of the rest. That's not true at all. So if you've got this kind of fixation with, I don't want to oversell, I don't want to lie, then maybe you need to flip your mindset and be like, okay, cool. I'm kind of lying because I'm not giving them the full story at the moment. That can be really helpful.
And like I said, you're doing this all because you want to protect your colleagues who are not in the interview room.
Yes.
Truly. I keep coming back to that. They're not there. So you're not going to offend them because they're not hearing this story unless it's an internal interview. But if they're not there, just put that out of your mind. They'll never know what you say about this story.
That's right. I know. They just feel like they're misrepresenting themselves though. And I think the other key reframe is that you're showing that you understand the impact of your work and how it fits into the broader company, which is something that companies like to hear. So if that helps you with the result, you weren't previously going to say, oh, and the result is that we get more listeners. Like let's say, you felt really weird about making that claim with your news in an interview and you said, oh, and because of that, people keep coming back to our news. And you're like, well, I don't actually know if it's because of the news. Like that feels like a hard thing to say. But it shows that you understand me and my role and my function in this company have an impact on the trust that our listeners feel and the reliability and that they do want to come back. Does that kind of make sense? Like you don't have to make some exaggerated over the top claim, but you are kind of joining the dots on that's why these things are important for us and for the company as a whole. So that does have a place in your interview answers. So how do we actually do it? How do you get this balance right between taking credit and not feeling like you want to, pretend that it was all you?
Make sure that you give specifics about what it is you did. It's fine to mention at the end, and then it went through XYZ's hands, they did their thing, and here was the result. But give detail on what you did. Don't skim over the part that you played. Give the context of what the situation was. You know, our budget was crashing, management was stressed, we were facing, if that's how serious it was, we were facing job cuts. I deep dove because I wanted to help pull us out if I could. Ended up finding these massive black holes that were so fixable with the right effort. Like, set the scene. Don't just go, yeah, I decided to pull some data sets and handed that on, and in the end they were able to sell more things.
Yeah, exactly, because you're really underselling that. I think you want to specify what your part in it was, but it's okay to have a lot of the rest of the story talk about your team. Maybe you work in a group of people who all do the same job and you don't really ever kind of divide up who does what. Like, you're all kind of always working together. Cool, great, talk about the team. Then you just want to, at some point there, talk about, I did some of this, some of that, some of that. And then you can tell the story of the broader team of, this is the context of what happened to us and here's how we pulled together and got out of it. That is okay. You're allowed to tell the broader story of the team or the project or the company or the whatever. That is part of what you have experienced.
Company wins are still best bits. It's not always going to be an individual win, because at the end of the day, we're all working for companies and the company's interest. So
yeah. And like, imagine you worked in a retail store or something and you're like, oh, and the store outperformed their targets the following month. As if you're taking full credit for that. Like, nobody expects you to be able to, like, there's product involved, there's marketing involved, there's sales teams involved, there's heads of retail, there's managers, there's other team members. But if you did something and, hey, that helped us get there, then you are allowed to tell that story.
Play on, fair game.
You have full permission from us. Go out there and take your credit.
There you go. If that is you and you're a bit of an overthinker and want to give credit to... You know what just came into my head?
Mm-hmm.
In footy, when the players get interviewed and they say, full credit to the boys, and that's all they can muster out in the post-match interviews. That's what that is the analogy for what this kind of person is. They just want to praise their teammates. But sometimes you got to say, full credit to me out there. I was best on field.
Full credit to me.
Honestly, give yourself credit where it's due.
I've played really well tonight.
I must say, that try from me was outstanding.
Oh, that's so good. Okay, we're going to leave you on that. Thanks for listening to Interview Boss. If you like hearing the sound of our voices and our laughs and our bad jokes, hit that follow button in Apple or Spotify, or better yet, send this episode or another one of our episodes or just the show to someone else so that they can listen and be helped by us. And that's how we can hit the charts and help even more people. For more advice, some behind the scenes, and a supportive community, check us out on Instagram at Interview Boss and chuck us a follow. Can you believe we started Interview Boss in 2021?
Not really. It's insane. That's a lot of episodes and a lot of hours of talking.
Oh my gosh, it is. And if you're scrolling through all of our episodes, you might scroll straight past something that you really, really needed.
Yes, we're always getting messages from people asking us to do an episode on something, and I'm like, we already have.
So we've put together playlists to help you find the episodes that are exactly what you need, suited to your situation.
They're all categorized. If you're applying for jobs, we have episodes about resumes, cover letters, job ads. If you've been offered your dream job, we have episodes on resigning, exit interviews, and how to impress at your new company.
And we even have a very special playlist that's very popular for if you have an interview coming up immediately and you need just our most recommended hard-hitting episodes between now and then.
For all our last-minute listeners. It's all there for you. You can browse by category and check out all the playlists at interviewboss.com.au/podcast.